Tales from afar, stories of fun, dodgy old geezers and lessons to learn. From Alfred to Jerry, the scamps and the graft, they're spilling the beans and having a laugh. Mark, Annie and Pete, they're talking matter for you. Old school charm and a pint or two. So press play now, don't miss a treat. You'll love the stories, put it on the slate. Tales galore and so much more. So listen now with her indoors.
Hello there, I'm Pete.
I'm Andy,
And I'm Mark.
and you're listening to Minder on the Slate. Hello, and welcome to our brand new podcast celebrating all things Minder. We've decided to go back to 1979 and watch every single episode of this fantastic show. Starting with Series 1, Gunfight at the OK Launderette, going all the way to Series 10, Episode 10, The Long Good Thursday. Each week we will be watching, reviewing and rating a different episode, telling stories and some of the history of this great show. We will be welcoming actors and actresses that we feel are worthy of entering our Minder Special Guest Hall of Fame, and maybe judging a Terry punch-up or two. And we want you to join us, whether you're a Minder expert or a Minder virgin. We want your feedback. So please do get involved, because we'd love to hear your memories of Minder. So, some of you might recognise Pete from his saucy podcast, The Unmitigated Bounders. So Pete, there's more to you than sauce, isn't there? Why did you want to do a podcast dedicated to Minder?
There's not a lot more to me than sauce, to be honest. That's kind of all there is. You know what, Minder? It's been such a constant in my life, you know. And I remember when my parents used to go out during the week, I'd have a babysitter, and after Minder had finished, that was bedtime. You know, I remember the theme tune. Skip forward to the early to mid 90s, UK Gold, Granada Plus, all those channels, they replayed Minder, and I sort of discovered it properly in earnest and just became this solid fan. And you know, I've had people from school say to me on social media, bloody hell, Pete, are you still going on about Minder? You've been going on about it since we were at school. So yeah, massive Minder aficionado, love stuff from that era, use of films. Dennis is God. So yeah, I hope that's succinct enough for you, Andy.
It is succinct enough, and we are definitely still going on about Minder, aren't we?
Yes.
So Mark, we've known each other for going on 50 years. We've been primary school and junior school and high school, and we've been friends ever since. And I know the answer to this, but please tell everyone listening or watching how you came to love Minder.
Well, I think it's so much part of my formative years and growing up years. There was Orvida St. Pet, there was Only Fools and Horses, and there was The Young Ones, and those were sort of the big four for me. Just watched them all the time, absolutely dedicated to it. In terms of Minder, it was early on, because we were about 7 when it started, and it was very much there for the theme tune, there for the punch-up, and just that sort of grubby underworld that it showed. It really hit home with a 7 or 8 year old, and loved it ever since.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing. When we were at school, we talked about it all the time, didn't we? And as you say, you talked about the punch ups and we were allowed to stay up late, weren't we? I think, to watch it. I think you said, I watched it as a family. We watched it as a family. We were allowed to stay up late to watch it.
It was the one day of the week I was allowed to stay up till 10. So
yes.
all the rest of the time I was allowed to. My bedtime was 9 o'clock, which I think was still quite late for that age group.
You're probably right. I mean,
but
we watched
for that one.
Yeah, we definitely watched it on video. I think my mum and dad used to record it, and then Me and
Well,
my brother
you
and
were
sister
the early adopters of a video recorder, weren't you? The North
we were-
family
we
were
did
one of the
have-
very early adopters.
we were a very early adopter of the video recorder, and that is literally, it's just come to me now. Actually, the first time I ever watched Minder, I was off sick from school. I was telling Pete earlier that my son was off school yesterday, but when we were off school, you watched what was on video, didn't you? And the first time I ever saw Minder was when I was off sick from school, because
I assume you made your son watch Minder as well.
Obviously, yeah. I told him
If
he
he's
could
off,
stay off
so he's
school,
off
but
sick. Yeah.
yeah, he's off sick, but you're going to have to watch every single episode.
And really, that's the only reason I was your friend all those years ago, because you had a video recorder. So if
Now
I
it's coming
if I
out
missed,
now. And look
if
where
I
you
missed
are
an
now.
episode of Only Fools and Horses or Minder, I was straight round your house and we could watch it the next day.
I remember well.
I'm betting there's a VHS or indeed a Betamax, Andy, in your parents' house, and on the side it says Andy's 5th birthday or Andy's first
I wish
Holy
it was
Communion. And then it's crossed out Minder episode 1.
Yeah, no, I mean, you joke about that, but literally, that's what it was. We had Minder recorded them on the TV and watched them all the time.
Excellent.
So
And
that's
you
it.
were a VHS household, weren't you? Whereas
Yeah, not Betamax. Come on.
the Pennock family made a bad mistake. We went Betamax first up. 1983, our
Betamax,
video
Mark?
recorder. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
God, I can't
Second
believe you just
hand
had
Betamax. Second hand, 200 quid it was as well. I mean, it was a lot of money for a second hand video recorder in 1983.
straight out of someone's lap-up by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Right.
So, thank you for that, gents. I think it goes to show it's intrinsically linked to all our childhoods in slightly different ways, and I think there'll be lots of people listening where it's the same. And I really liked your point, Mark, about the big four. There'll be lots of people of a certain generation listening saying, yeah, they were the comedies we all talked about at school, and they were probably the bridge from being kids into young adults, you know, watching this kind of stuff. So, Andy, what's the plan for today? What are we talking about today?
Well, today, Pete, we might as well start at the very beginning, mightn't we? And I think the plan is with this is that we are going to watch every episode in order from the start. So today we are going to be talking about Series 1, Episode 1, Gunfight at the OK Launderette. Mark?
Is it me?
He's not reading his script.
Well, I've gone on to what's happening in the show. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Back
Go
on
on.
cue. Gunfight at the OK Launderette was first broadcast on the 29th of October 1979. It was written by Leon Griffiths and directed by Peter Sasdy.
Quick production note, guys. Can we pretend that we're not reading from the script? Just
The
Yes.
script is only there as a guide, but
Absolutely.
there was
Absolutely.
some clear links. Anyway, carry on.
Yes. So joining Dennis Waterman and George Cole as Terry and Arthur, we have Dave King as Alfie Cavallo, Trevor Thomas, not Terry Thomas as I keep wanting to say, as Stretch, and the extremely lovely Linda
Extremely.
Regan as Liz.
Yeah. So where do we start, Pete? Where does this episode start?
Well, I believe, and again, you lads are more local to this neck of the woods, but I believe we start in Little Venice,
Little Italy.
sort of Italian neighbourhood in. Is it Little Venice? Or have I got that wrong?
Yeah, Little Italy.
Yeah.
Little Italy, little sort of Italian neighbourhood in London, and there is a wedding. It is Alfie Cavallo's son. He's getting married, and Alfie, played by Dave King, is sat in the church. You know, obviously he could have his brother or his father next to him or his wife, but no, he's sat there with Arthur Daley at his son's wedding.
Yes. Yeah. And they seem very keen to get out of the wedding as soon as possible, don't they?
Yeah,
So they're
there's
going to
no,
go.
Desperate to go
presumably
for a
there's
drink.
reception.
Yeah. And his son can't speak very good Italian and is getting his words wrong and stuff, isn't he? So they quickly disappear out of the church and take a wander up the road.
Yeah, a wander through the neighbourhood, and Alfie ruefully sort of comments on how the neighbourhood is changing and the old traditions are dying, in terms of that sort of Italian Londoner thing. Where's his son going on the honeymoon?
They're going to Tunisia.
Right.
How dare they go to Tunisia? Yeah.
Well, I think because Alfie's got a place in Tuscany, his grandfather's place that he wants him to have for the honeymoon, and he's saying no, we want to go somewhere more exotic. We want to go off to Tunisia. So again, you're losing those connections to Italy. It's a changing of the generations that's referenced, because his real name's Franco, but he wants to be called Frank so that he can fit in. So again, it's touching on that multiculturalism of London at that point in time.
Yeah. I mean, and that's an area that was changing at that time, but has completely changed now, isn't it? I mean,
So where is it, gents, that particular area?
Sort of north of Holborn, just sort of the little bit above. It's vaguely near the British Museum, heading over to Old Street, sort of Clerkenwell area.
yes.
So plenty of pub crawls we've done round that
But,
area.
I mean, in the
but
last-
you wouldn't notice it as Little Italy particularly.
Yeah,
now.
because I went up there a few years ago with the kids, and there's the post office museum up there, and like I remember there was loads of construction around that time, and my wife worked there recently, and she said it's like completely changed in the last 5 to 10 years, like absolutely changed beyond recognition. But yeah, it's
I like it around there. I've spent a bit of time around there, actually. So speaking of pub crawls and indeed club crawls, we skip forward and we see our man Terry McCann hard at work.
yeah. I mean, it's not a difficult job he's got there, is it? I mean, I think later on in the episode he moans about the way his life's turned out, but you know, I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse.
And mind, it's setting itself out early. It's quite raunchy. You've got
Yes.
stripper on screen within 2 minutes of the programme starting. Really, Terry's there, but it also flips it in that it's quite progressive almost. It's because it has one bloke there. Is it Tony Doyle? Tony Doyle's there as a sort of a punter, and he's always sort of, go on, you get them off, that sort of thing. and Terry gets him and sort of just, oi, had enough of that, and kicks him out. But he's trying to say it from the lady's perspective rather than from the man's perspective. So I do see it as quite an early sign of being progressive, which wouldn't have been typical for the late 70s, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think we see Terry's the hired muscle, but he'd rather not talk his way out of trouble, but he'd rather talk it through than fight it through, and that is a constant theme. A constant theme throughout the entire show, as we know, is Terry's conflict with just being the hired hand, being the hired muscle, and he's always trying to. Arthur will say, "Hit him, Terry."
Yeah.
Terry's the one trying to sort of look for some kind of diplomatic way through. And you're right, he as much as he's one of the top birders ever in the history of television, he is, like you say, very enlightened and says, you know, that's somebody's daughter up there, or somebody's mother. How would you like it if it was your mother? And then, not for the first time this episode, engages in a bit of casual racism and tells them to get back to the site because he's presumably meant to be a builder or something of Irish origin.
Yeah, I mean, and go back to that, the guy, the club manager, which is like, the great thing is it's a strip club like in the middle of Soho, and he's wearing a dinner jacket and stuff, isn't he? He's like, you should have hit him, Terry. You really should have hit him.
That's not bad, actually. I was thinking about having a go at that accent myself, but I think you've done it justice.
I think this may be this is episode 1, but there may be a few of these accents coming through. But yeah, he's like, you should have hit him, Terry. But as you say, going forward, you get that quite a lot with Arthur. Hit him, Terry. No, you know. Yeah.
Definitely.
And so while it's progressive for someone in the late 70s, is not necessarily progressive for someone now. And I think we will be looking at the series from a modern lens, but having empathy to how things were in the 70s and 80s as well. So trying to see how things have changed, how how opinions and views have changed.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, isn't it?
So before people cry, wokery gone mad, we shan't be embracing the old-fashioned attitudes that we see throughout the programme, but we're not going to hide away from them either, and we are going to sort of discuss them and tackle them head on, rather than just not reference it in the hope that somebody doesn't get upset. So
Yeah, no, I think that there's only one. That's the only way to do it, isn't it? You got to.
we're all grown-ups. Well,
We are.
you and me are, Andy. Not so much. So, okay, so what next?
So Terry meets up. Liz, played by the lovely Linda Regan, follows Terry out of the club, and they suggest that they have a date, I think, and they're going to meet at Dave's later on. And
Yeah, which is weird, isn't it? Because apparently they've never really spoken before. It comes quite clear, but he just says, "I'll see you at Dave's at 8:15." Now, unless Dave, now this is what we believe will be the Winchester Club, but unless she knows that Dave runs the Winchester Club, he's just saying to her, "Let's meet at Dave's." Now, I'm assuming that's a bar called Dave's then.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite unclear whether it's the Winchester or what. I think it's just something in the script that they've done as shorthand, isn't it?
Yeah.
That it's a
Without
pub, but rather
50
than
years
saying,
later, them expecting some idiots to be talking about it, picking holes
Yeah.
in the plot.
So rather than say let's meet at the Red Lion or the Black Bull or the whatever, it's easy to say let's meet at Dave's, because they've got Glyn Edwards to play a character called Dave, who's going to be the barman, and that's the easy shorthand to do it, isn't it? I suppose.
And it's also suggestive of a little sub community, a little world that they are part of, which is that sort of vaguely criminal world of the Winchester, Arthur, Terry, and all the wrong-uns who get in there, and birds who pass through and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, because she says to him, she goes, "Oh, I'm on round the corner." Like, so it's almost like he would know what that is.
Yes.
She knows what Dave's is. It's one of those kind of shorthands, isn't it? I think.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And she says, she makes some comment about I'll be in my work clothes, to which
Yeah.
Terry replies, "Well, you know,
You
you
don't-
don't wear any."
Yeah. Aren't you the lucky one? She said.
Yeah.
Getting a second impression. Very good, Anne.
Yeah, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah,
But she's very good in this.
She is. And
I
what
think-
do we know Linda Regan from? Obviously, to us, she's very familiar, but to people listening, she may not be that familiar.
Hidey hi, holdy ho.
I think that's the. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously now she's a published crime writer and stuff like that, but I think Heidi High's the thing that she was in for the longest as
Yes.
April, Spike's on-off girlfriend.
Yeah, that's the thing I remember her for. But yeah, she's very good in this, I have to say. Which, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was married to Brian Murphy, also,
Yes.
aka George Roper, the wonderful character that is George Roper from George and Mildred.
Yes. Yeah.
She's, I mean, we haven't really probably got time to discuss it today, but I think Linda Regan's a real sort of, she's one of those kind of journeymen of British comedy, in that she's been in absolutely tons of stuff, you know, from Carry-Ons, Confessions, On the Buses, plus other stuff as well, through to Heidi High, Minder, etc., etc. But like I say, we might come back to that later. So, do we now? So at some point, Arthur and Terry meet up
Yeah, they're playing pool in a pub somewhere, which isn't the Winchester, is it, or isn't Dave? So they're playing pool. Terry's beating Arthur, isn't he? Quite
quite comfortably as well. And Arthur's throwing a bit of a moody, saying, "Well, it's a stupid game, it's a kids' game.
Yeah,
It's not the brains of snooker."
Like, and then he argues that they weren't playing for money. So I'll buy you a drink. Don't mind buying you a drink. And then he gets to the bar and the landlord offers him a drink and he asks for himself one, but he doesn't get Terry one.
Yeah. So again, showing a nice little vignette of what the characters were to become and how Arthur would generally treat Terry.
Yeah. And so then Terry has to go and help Alfie Cavallo empty his laundrettes of the cash that's in the whatever they call that.
Which is naturally what you're going to do on your son's wedding day. You're gonna leave early, go for a drink with Arthur, and then go and collect money from laundrettes.
Well, this is a bit of a plot point, isn't it? Where it does seem. I mean, I think in those days, weddings weren't quite the big deal, maybe that they are now. Possibly, I don't know.
Yeah,
but it looks like a big deal,
though, aren't they? Yeah.
Huh?
They're in a Catholic church. Catholic weddings.
Yeah,
can go on
it's a
bit,
big deal. And then after that, he's going to go and collect all. And then when Arthur turns up at Dave's or the Winchester, whatever, later, he says, "Oh, I've been to a wedding reception." Alfie Cavallo's. But so Alfie clearly doesn't go to his own son's wedding reception because he's emptying laundrettes of cash. And so they get in Alfie's roller, don't they? And they drive around.
Which again is another natural thing to do. I'm going to collect money from a launderette in a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah. So they go to one and they do that, and then they head off to the other one and collect the money from the OK laundrette.
Just before we get that, Andy, in terms of Mark's point about, it's the natural thing to do on the day of your son's birthday. Well, if you think about it, in The Godfather, there is the tradition that the Don must hear all requests for favours, and he can't refuse any of them on the day of his daughter's wedding. Well, maybe it's just like for like the sort of London little
London equivalent.
Yeah, you've got to go and empty the slots, the laundrette.
Yeah.
Well, business is business.
100%.
Yeah. It's an interesting one when you. I guess this is why we're here, isn't it? Over analysing things, but why did they choose the wedding day as the plot? Did it have to be?
I'm being flippant about The Godfather. However, I do think there's a whiff of The Godfather, and in The Godfather 1 and 2, when there's baptisms and stuff like that, there's a whiff of that in the opening scene. So I don't know, that might be just coincidental.
No. You've mentioned that before. I think when we've been talking about it, and I think I think there is a hint of that, isn't there? Definitely. Yeah.
Opening scene, wedding, get everyone together. Though in this instance, not the main characters, just Arthur with Alfie.
Yes. Yeah. So we should probably mention Dave King, who plays Alfie, shouldn't we? Because we haven't really talked about him at all. What do you know about Dave King?
Oh, I know he was a singer. He was a singer, comedian. Was based in America at some point.
He was. So he was huge, wasn't he, in the 50s in this country, and he was a singer and a comedian, and then he went to America, and with these writers, I can't remember their names. Someone will tell us off the top of my head, but
so yeah, James Corden is the modern day equivalent. Is that what we're saying?
Ooh, it's a difficult one. So he was maybe Adam faith but more comedy than, don't know. So he was a singer, wasn't he? And then, but he also did comedy. But I think so him and the writers that he worked with later found bigger fame with Morecambe and Wise. They were the original before Eddie
right.
Braben. They wrote, like
Sid Collin, is it?
could be. There were two, and they wrote, and they performed with Morecambe and Wise as well. Like boom, doo, ya da da da, boom, doo, ya da da da. So that was them.
The
And
man
so
of a
they-
thousand voices.
Yeah. So they went to America with Dave King, and they did a show, and it was really successful, and I think it was all going brilliantly. And then for some reason it wasn't going brilliantly, and he came home. They stayed. He came home, and then I think he worked again, and then it didn't work, and his career started to go downhill. And then he moved into more serious acting when the comedy kind of dried up. So, but I think when this went out, I think he still would have been quite a well-known face. I think.
Yeah. But not for us as 7 and 8 year olds.
No.
Literally, I would have never have heard of him at the time, or
No.
be aware of him.
But I think for people that are our age now, I think it would have been,
Yeah.
look, it's Dave King kind of thing.
So what if you were to other than this episode of Minder, if you were to associate him with anything else, what would it be?
Long Good Friday, wasn't it?
I was hoping for another impression. Parky! He's brilliant in the Long Good Fridays, the Ben Copper. And Carl Howman's is sort of second in command. And just to name drop, spoke to Carl Howman a couple of times, and he spoke very highly of Dave King.
Oh, well, that's good to hear.
Spoke to another thespian of renown or note who didn't speak highly of him, but we'll keep it positive and we shan't dwell on that. But yeah, Carl said he was like really nice bloke.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're working with him and everything's going well, I'm assuming he was nice. Maybe if you saw him in a pub and went up and went boom, choo, ra-ta-ta-ta, he should have been you, mate. He probably might have. He may not have taken that quite as well, but no, it's good to hear that Carl thinks that he was a good guy. Yeah. So moving on, Terry then, so they're unloading the machines, and then they pull up outside the OK Launderette. There's a one-man band, isn't there? Which
Don't see them
those-
much these days.
No. So there's a one-man band. There's a lot of kids gathered round. There's a
Yeah.
Volkswagen.
Did he have his CRB checks? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know. There's more turn up, like the orange Volkswagen camper turns up in every single episode of the first series. That turns up and lets some people out, and they go in, and obviously it's being staked out by Stretch, Cosmo, and
Winston.
Winston. Yeah. Oh, one of them's in the laundrette, isn't he? And then
Yes, Winston, I think yeah, Winston's in the laundry, I think.
yeah, and then so Stretch and Cosmo go in with a
So
shooter.
who are these three? So who are Stretch, Cosmo, and Winston? Just characters wise, I mean,
What do you mean? In
like, so basically we've got a group of three wrong-uns from the area.
yeah,
Three young black lads who are obviously down on the luck, a little bit desperate, and they've obviously cased out the laundrette.
yes,
Yeah, and Cosmo and Winston are very much the younger part of it, and this Stretch is a bit more seasoned,
Yes.
a bit more, and he uses the phrase, "Let's go and get some shoes for the kids." So he's obviously more of a family man that he's got to look after, whereas Cosmo and Winston look like they're straight out of Grange Hill, which I think they probably were.
yeah. I think literally in one of the cases, but I mean, I think so they've obviously been staking it out. They obviously know that he's this happens every Friday because that's what they do. And I think there is actually a precedent that I think that Leon Griffiths has copied possibly, or been inspired by. So do either of you guys know about the Spaghetti House siege?
No.
Okay. So I've written a couple of things down, but it's basically, I think the basic plot of this is, so they're collecting the cash from laundrettes. So the Spaghetti House restaurants had a similar sort of thing. So they had every Friday, it might have been a Saturday, I can't remember, each branch manager would get their money from the week's takings and take it to the main branch in Knightsbridge, and they'd all meet up, the money would all be collected, and then it would be taken to a bank. And then one day basically someone realised this is what was happening, and some lads burst in, attempted to grab the money. And what will happen in this is, in the episode, the police turn up straight away, and that's basically what happened in the Spaghetti House siege. Is the police were on the scene instantly, and they had to go into a back room and hide out, and they were in there for about 4 days or something.
Wow.
And they claimed they were the same as this episode. They claimed it was a political act, and they were from not what this turns out to be, which we'll get to in a second, but they claim basically the same thing. It was a political act, and that's where it came from. So that this episode is clearly based on the Spaghetti House siege.
At least they had plenty to eat. I mean, in the Minder episode, they haven't got anything to eat or drink, and they're stuck in there. And you know, at least you're in there with a load of spaghetti and bolognese. You're laughing, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, I've looked at some of the pictures of where they were, and it looks really similar. There's lots of comparisons that you could, and I think there was someone wrote a play for today or something based on the same thing, which was about a year or so before. So I think the Spaghetti House siege was 1975, so this is a few years later, and it was also made into an Italian film called Spaghetti House or something like that. But it's a story that has been used before, and it's quite
Is
interesting.
that available on streaming services? And can we get that on Amazon Prime?
If you're willing to pay, I believe. And it's not on YouTube.
So is it?
Yeah, and me too. There's some clips on YouTube. You can look at some clips, but I mean the Italian film is after this episode, but I think the play for today is before. But yeah, it's a very similar story. Franklin Davis was the guy, and Wesley Dick and Anthony Munro. There's the three of them, and I think one of them was Nigerian and one of them was West Indian. I'm not sure about the other one. Yeah, but same thing. They turn up, had a sawn off shotgun. Yeah, it's
the inspiration for
it is the
episode.
inspiration. I think so. Whether Leon Griffiths ever admitted that, I don't know, but it clearly
definitely
is.
is from what you've described. I assumed it was his kind of homage to Dog Day Afternoon, but I think I've been off track there. Sounds like you.
But it does clear up one of those things which when I've watched this episode a lot now in preparation, having I don't think I saw it at the time of release. Probably only saw it when it was repeated in 1994 at the end of it as sort of George Cole's. I couldn't pick a favourite episode. I'll pick the first episode, and I remember watching it then. And obviously it's a little bit different from what Minder had become, so it was quite a shock watching it. It's quite a long way from what the series became. But one of the bits when rewatching it so many times, you think, well, the police have turned up within 2 seconds of it all kicking off, and you think that's never going to happen. I mean, especially nowadays. But even then, you think that's not going to happen. But if that's what genuinely happened in the Spaghetti House.
Apparently it did. They turned up. I think there was some kind of coincidence that the police were outside or whatever, and they literally turned up within seconds, and it was one of those coincidences.
So in this scene, like literally. So we think Winston is inside, Cosmo and Stretch walk in, Alfie's emptying the coins into his bag, whatever, and then Stretch gets out the shotgun. So it keeps everyone keep calm, but you know, this is a robbery. Don't do anything. So the first thing Terry does, smacks him around the face, smacks Winston around the face, which is not your health and safety recommended course of action.
Face with a shotgun, yeah.
Face with a shotgun, hit the nearest bloke to you. Then the gun goes off in the kerfuffle, hits Alfie in the shoulder. Alfie goes down. Stretch gains control because he's got the gun, and that's the start of the siege. Terry throws a bag of 50p coins out the window, smashes the window, and the police are there. And one of the policemen is Leslie Grantham as well, which is it's obviously unknown at the time, and I believe it is his first ever TV appearance according to IMDb or to Wikipedia.
You only kind of really see the back of his head, but if you listen to his voice, because at one point he says he's a natter or something, isn't it? Like he'll use it. He's a natter, and it does sound. Yeah. And that is definitely Leslie Grantham.
It does sound like Dirty Den straight
Yes,
away,
does.
and then a nice early to start to be spot from a bit part in Minder.
Yeah. So they sort of bundled in the back, aren't they? Police turn up quick. Stretch bundles Terry, Alfie, and is it Mrs. Mayhew? Is it who's like
Mrs. Mayhew,
innocent bystander who's dragged into the back as well, and the police turn up, and so the siege begins, doesn't it? They can't get out the back, they can't get out the front.
And if you think this is probably within what, the first 10 minutes? And I think it's really clever writing on Leon Griffith's part, because in a small sense, yes, lots happens, but really from here on, they are, for the majority of the episode, the hold up in the back getting increasingly sort of sweatier and hotter and more desperate and stuff like that. But he keeps the episode chugging along, even though not really a lot's happening. It's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of dialogue.
Yes, definitely. I mean, you've got the interact, so it's cut between the siege and then comedy relief, I guess, from Arthur. He meets up. He meets up with Liz, doesn't he, in the pub? She's waiting for Terry, and we see the first appearance of Dave, and Linda Barron as well.
And this is a remarkable scene. Yeah. One, you've got Linda Barron in it, who's uncredited, which is ridiculous because she was quite a big star at the time. But so it cuts to the pub, and the radio's playing the local news, which is saying there's been a hold up at the OK Launderette, and there's gunmen on site, police are on site, and there's hostages. And as the camera pans up the wall, there's a picture of Sue Holderness, aka Marlene from Only Fools and Horses and Dear John, and other famous programs, and later to appear in Minder, Madame LeBlanc, later to appear in Minder herself. But yes, there's a signed picture of her on the wall.
So
and then when it cuts away, there's a signed picture of Barbara Windsor as well. It's just really, it's just like, and to be fair, there is a whole wall of famous people, but Sue Holderness wouldn't have been particularly famous at the time. It's 4 or 5 years before she did Only Fools and Horses, and so it seems a bit of a strange one. A nice spot when I was rewatching it.
Yeah.
Random, to use a modern parlance.
Yes.
Yeah. And Liz says to Dave says to her, like, this young lady's waiting for Terry, and he goes over to her and said, like, did you bring a friend? And she said, no. Terry said you'd be too old. And he said, 52. It was like, same age as Paul Newman. You don't look like him.
It's one of my favourite bits of the episodes. Well, you don't look like him. It's brilliant. And this is a point that we have to make, is that me and Andy are older than Arthur Daley in episode 1, which is, we're 53 at time of recording. We are 53 years old, and that's 1 year older than Arthur. I just hope our teeth are in better shape.
Waterman at this stage?
31.
Oof.
Yeah, 21 year gap between the two of them.
So we're older than Terry was when he quit as well.
Yeah, Pete, you're older than Terry, and we're older than Arthur.
Anyway. So I guess Arthur realizes that Terry's stuck there and decides it could be a money-making opportunity, doesn't he? And so he heads down there and tries to negotiate with the police and the press as well, which is quite funny. When because what does he say? He claims to get through the security. He claims to be CID or something.
Special forces. That's just something. He claims to be something, but then as soon as he gets to the policeman, he's just like, "Well, you got my boy in there."
Yeah, and they say to him, "We want you to go over there and give your details or something." And he says, "I don't usually have much to do with the police." So
it's incredible the amount of police on the scene as well. There are just police everywhere, and marksmen. Snipers.
He's got a gun.
Absolutely.
To be fair,
he has got
which
I know
he's got a gun.
Yeah.
Which in 1979 would have been unusual, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But it's just the amount of police is incredible, and none of them are Rycott or Chisholm. So the policemen we would come to know and love.
Yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Very cinematic, isn't it? The whole episode's very film-like. If they'd just made this as a one-off, like you say, Andy, like Play for Today or something like that, it wouldn't have felt that unusual if it was just something that existed in isolation.
Yeah, because I think so. It wasn't the first episode they filmed. I think it was the second one. Might be right.
Yeah, but the Bounty Hunter was the first one they filmed, which is the 5th episode, I think.
Yeah, but they had apparently they had an extra week, so I think it used to be
bigger budget.
Yeah, bigger budget and an extra week on this one because it was going to be the first episode.
Right.
So that probably is shown on the screen with the extra cops, and so that's probably why it looks more cinematic than the rest of them. So they had a bit of extra time to work on it, but yeah.
So without being glib and sort of trying to rush the process, would it be fair to say that really between now and almost the end of the show, we kind of have the siege playing out in all its, all the various sort of little micro developments, and concurrent to that we have Arthur, trying to pull a fast one, selling the story to the press, managing to get through to Terry and stuff like that. That's kind of the remainder of the episode, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah,
there's some beautiful dialogue as well, isn't there? There's some really nice little bits between, whether it's Alfie and Terry or Terry and Stretch or the Winston and Cosmo, the other, and not so much Mrs. Mayhew. She's very much a character on the side of things, but everyone else has their own little moments which are great, which are really well done.
To give Mrs. Mayhew her due, she definitely enjoying herself though. She's like, every line she's got, she don't half give it some. She's like having a whale of a time. She's like, I've got a couple of weeks on this, and I'm really, I'm in a hot room, gonna get a bit sweaty, but every line I'm gonna do, I'm gonna milk it for everything it's worth. So she really, like this one really strange bit where she's talking about her washing, isn't she? It's like, and this is almost like Shakespearean her way in her delivery about that her knickers are, haven't got on in the dryer yet. It's like, bloody hell.
Or Beckett, Samuel Beckett.
Yeah, Samuel Beckett. Yeah.
She didn't subscribe to the notion that less is more. Is that what you're saying?
That's pretty much what I'm saying. But yeah, no, I think what you're trying to say is, yeah, I mean, we could talk it through bit by bit of every scene, but I think you're right. There's not. I mean, I think you're better off picking out various bits of dialogue. I don't know if you want to do the bit between Terry and Alfie, Mark, about how easy they have it in prison. Have you got that down?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's about Big Bob Whitney.
Big Bob Whitney. Yes, this is great.
Big Bob Whitney. So it's the same way I say it's much easier these days. They're all doing open university courses. Big Bob Whitney's got a degree in sociology. You say he's still thieving, but at least now he knows why he's doing it. So there's some lovely little lines, and
they all laugh at that, don't they?
Even the villains.
Yes.
And of course the other one they all laugh at is when Stretch tells the police that they're from the independent Rastafarian army.
Yeah, it's the best gag. Yeah, it's the best
and
gag
like,
in the episode.
Hey Stretch, I've just worked it out. Independent Rastafarian army. The initials. IRA.
And Terry
which at the
goes
time, bear in mind 1979. I mean that
Yeah.
is highly, it is highly in the news, very relevant, and then as part of the scene they're discussing with the police. They're trying to negotiate, and they're demanding a helicopter, and then they want a jumbo jet to Ethiopia, and I think Cosmo goes, Ethiopia? I want to go there. That's in Africa. And it's some really, really nice dialogue between all the actors. And
So Pete,
really
I reckon
really
you've got something you want to say about a question about the IRA bit with Dennis, haven't you?
Well,
Is it? Go on.
1979. Burt Reynolds is riding high at the cinema. And something part of the Burt Reynolds style in a lot of his films is when he breaks the fourth wall. Doesn't necessarily talk to camera or talk to you as the viewer, but he looks at you and he'll laugh or something like that. And at the point that they say IRA, in Terry sort of guffaws, incredulously, and then shakes his head, laughing his head off, and then he looks directly at the camera and sort of rolls his eyes as if to say, like, who are these bozos? And I swear that he is breaking the fourth wall and is letting us, the viewer, in on the gag. And I'm not trying to be intellectual about it or anything like that, because it's not really in my kit bag. But I definitely swear he does that. And to the best of my knowledge, that's the only time it ever happens in any episode. And it's really curious that they do it, and then that's that.
Yeah, it is. I think you're right. I think he does it, but when I've watched it quite a few times. You could suggest he's looking slightly to one side, but I'm not sure.
Don't spoil it.
So
he might be looking at Alfie Cabello, couldn't he? He might
could be just about.
But I think he definitely does break the fourth
I think
wall.
he does it as well. But
it's just odd that it's done in the first episode. Obviously, not the first episode recorded, but the first episode released, and then it never happens again.
Yeah,
so
we're definitely. I mean, people can comment on the video here, or we'll definitely put it on the socials and stuff. Ask him whether he does.
Does he break the fourth wall?
I think he definitely does, but we'll ask other people's opinions because
just quickly, Pete, on Burt Reynolds in 1979, was it Smokey and the Bandit, Cannonball Run, or both? I mean, what do you reckon?
Think in '79. Oh God, he'd done Smokey. No, Cannonball Run was later than that.
So
Probably
maybe Smokey and the Bandit won.
Hooper.
Oh, Hooper. Yeah.
Well, that might be 1978. But yeah, big Burt Reynolds fan. But that's another conversation for another podcast.
Yeah, I've got something I want to mention about your Burt Reynolds as well. The other that you put on Facebook the other day, but We'll deal with that another day. So,
I know exactly what it is.
you know what I
know
mean?
exactly what it is.
I told my wife when I saw that film as well. Anyway, let's move on. So,
I'm not on Facebook. This isn't fair.
yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
we're at Minder on the Slate on Facebook. Please
Yes.
join us. So Arthur's they're stuck in the siege, but Arthur's phoned them up, hasn't he? And
Yeah, he's got through. He's got through to the laundrette.
he's got through. Yeah, this is the OK laundrette. It's like, it's for you. Hello, Arthur. It's Arthur Daley. And then there's an unfortunate racist comment from Arthur, which seems completely out of character, but
Yeah.
But probably typical, but probably normal of the time. So I think you wouldn't do it now. You couldn't do it now. But of the time,
It
it
adds
was
to the grit
probably
of the
fine.
episode, Mark. Because
It
I
does.
think
It is,
this
and it is
episode
gritty. Yeah.
purposely gritty, isn't it? Like it really sets out to be quite gritty and a little bit seedy.
Yeah,
but you're right.
yeah,
Clumsy and not really in keeping with the character, I would say.
no, not at all. I know what you mean about the gripping, because I was about to mention like Arthur dealing with the press and stuff, but just sort of shortly after that, so Arthur phones, speaks to the press and gets, he says to Liz, like, he does a deal with an exclusive with the papers, doesn't he? He says to Liz, stick your boobs out, you're on a score here.
Yeah, and look tragic.
Yeah, look tragic, yeah. Stick your boobs out, look tragic, you're on a score here. But yeah, after that, the sort of tension ramps up, doesn't it? With and Stretch starts to get, and he threatens Mrs. Mayhew with the gun, and it gets quite nasty, doesn't it? At one point, where he's clearly starting to lose it.
And it looks amazing at this stage, like the cinematography of it. I mean, you can sort of sense it's bigger budget. Everyone's they've been stuck in the laundrette for 24 hours or whatever. It's really hot and sweaty. They haven't got anything to eat or drink, and they really look like they've been stuck down there as well. It doesn't look like someone just come and dabbed them with a little bit of a
No,
it does look.
It looks like they've genuinely been there.
And they're starting to feel the pressure. Like they're starting to argue amongst themselves, aren't they? Like one of them's going, "Oh, but a cup of tea, Stretch, a cup of tea." Well, we
Cosmo and Winston want out. They didn't want any of this to begin with. They didn't want, the gun is, they didn't think they was going to use it. They didn't think it was loaded. They thought it was just there as a threat.
Yeah,
so
going back
no
to
desire for this.
Yeah, go back to the Spaghetti House siege as well. Apparently that happened, that they tried to get a division between them and started playing them off against each other. Yeah. And apparently that was in the original story as well.
Two quick things that we forgot to mention. Before they get to the laundrette, Terry and Alfie are having a chat, and Alfie says something like, Arthur's solid. He's a bit old-fashioned, but he's good as gold, sort of thing. And Terry says, he's been good to me. And Alfie says,
done me a favour.
He done me a favour. He says, well, what did he do? He says, I can't remember, but he's always telling me he did me a favour. And then secondly, we haven't discussed Trevor Thomas playing Stretch.
Yeah. He's really good, I think, in this.
I agree. Fully agree. Are you familiar with him from anything else in particular?
I know he was in the Sweeney and the Professionals, but I don't particularly remember him in them.
Yeah.
He turns up in another Minder episode much later, doesn't he? One of the last Terry ones, which is good. A much smaller part, but he's good in that as well. Can't remember the exact episode, but yeah, definitely Series 7. I think he turns up, and I watched it recently, but yeah, he's good.
Out of sync. You're a bit out of order.
Do you know the problem is, telling Mark the other day, is because anyone who's listened to this may have been following our Twitter and TikTok and all these kind of things, and I've been putting loads of clips on, and it's just Minder has taken over my life. And we're supposed to be watching them in order, but I'm having to watch Minder 24/7.
You haven't dreamed
So
of
that's
it,
the
but-
dream. That is the dream.
Yeah.
Trevor Thomas is in a really good film called, oh God, what's it called? Black
So
Joy.
good. Joy.
It's so good, I can't remember the name. Black Joy with Norman Beaton,
okay.
aka Desmond.
Is that like an alternative to Lovejoy?
So- that could work, but sadly not.
He's the black Ian McShane.
He plays a gentleman from abroad who comes to London, to try and get an education and stuff like that. And he's initially kind of very wet behind the ears. So he's played a really different character from Stretch, who's streetwise, probably vulnerable on the quiet, but he's all sort of all machismo. And yeah, he has the misfortune to lodge with Desmond, as in from the sitcom, and he's like he's a bit of a pimp. He's very manipulative and sort of tries to take the mick out of him. Really, one of those. There's a handful of like amazing films, British films from the mid '70s to like early '80s, predominantly sort of set in with black casts, set in bits of London. Some really good films, criminally kind of underlooked, I would say. And this is one of them. Definitely worth checking out. Black Joy.
Oh, okay. Is that pre this or after?
Pre 1977.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'll have to check that out. Sounds good. Right, so
back to the boiler room.
back to the boiler room. So they have like a bit of a philosophy, they philosophize a little bit about what's going on, don't they? And Terry's rent a muscle, and he's sort of kind of regretting his lot in life a bit, and basically saying that like trying to get him to give up, isn't he?
Yeah, but we learn about Terry's misdemeanors in the past. We learn that he's been
Alfie's too.
Yeah, we learn that he's done a couple of years for GBH and 3 years for armed robbery, or vice versa. And we know that Alfie's done a bit of bird 20 years back, and when it was tough.
Yeah.
Not like these youngsters these days.
So then it pretty much, in the way a lot of Minder episodes it ends up in a big fight.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware, the only one that involves washing powder.
Yes, which is. So, how would you rate this fight?
I think the fight itself is really good. It's just really weird that the final sort of because the Stretcher's got a gun, and he's just turned his back on Terry for a moment, and Terry realises things are reaching sort of crisis point, so he just chins him. He just absolutely leathers him. Ends up in a big battle. Alfie's trying to get the gun that has fallen to the floor. There's a few comedy moments where people are running around standing on his hand as he's trying to get it.
Yeah.
But the big climax is Terry smacking Stretch with a big bag of washing powder.
Yeah.
So, and which goes everywhere, and that seems to finish everything. That's just like collapses, job done.
Yeah, it is that's the only slight issue. It is as if he's hitting with a hammer, isn't it, rather than a bag of washing powder? Because he's just like.
But they haven't had anything to eat or drink for 24 hours. They've been in a hot room, suffocating. They say they're literally they're
like an Egyptian
on their
brothel
last
down
legs.
here, I think he says at one point.
Yes, that is right, like an Egyptian brothel.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they're not at their peak, I would say. So it's understandable, though. Yeah, I wouldn't. I think that he properly chins him with the first right-hander, though. I mean, it's a really good crack.
Yes.
He's a worthy opponent to young Terrence.
Yes.
Stretch.
Yeah.
Yes.
But some good. So you think there's some good fight coordination? One of those legendary stuntmen or something got involved? Do you think?
Rocky Taylor's got to be there, isn't he?
That's what I'm thinking. Peter Brame, all those kinds of fellas.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah,
There's
but
some
yes,
of-
I'd say it's a good a good punch up.
Yeah, I think it doesn't obviously look. There's some instances where it's clearly a stuntman, isn't it? And it doesn't really look that like that, does it? Well, I didn't think. Did you think?
No.
There's
No,
one.
I think it's.
Yeah, there's one I watched the other day.
I didn't even notice the stuntmen.
Yeah, no, I don't know
there are
whether
some.
it is.
There are some
Yeah.
I do. I
One
think if you
I
go
watched the other
classically
day.
the Brian Cox fight when they're on a bus and they're on the route master, so there's no back door, and Terry's head is virtually on the
Yeah,
on
that's
the road
that's
as
pretty
they're,
brutal.
as
Yeah,
they're
that's
fighting.
not as good as that.
That's it's a brutal fight, but yeah, you can sort of see where it cuts between stuntman and Dennis Waterman, but not so much in this one.
Yeah, there's one I watched the other day where I can't remember the lead actor's name, but he's a fairly small guy, and the stuntman is about a foot taller, and they just put him in the same coloured suit. We'll get to it eventually, maybe in a few years' time. But yeah. So anyway, so they leave.
It all concludes.
Yes. So the police ask them to come out one by one, don't they?
Well, I've got a point here.
Go on.
Which, to be fair, I only noticed on about the 8th viewing. So when they first get into or in the back of the laundrette, there's a big padlock on the door, and they say, "Have you got a key?" Like, they get the key off Alfie so that they can escape out the back. And then the police are surrounding the area, so they forget about trying to escape, and it becomes a siege. But there is a massive padlock on the door, massive. And then when it gets to this bit at the end, they just knock on the door, say, "We want to come out now." And then they just unbolt it. There is no padlock to be seen. So that is a definite blooper. Unless I was confused watching it for the 9th time.
He's got his pedantic pants on tonight, Andy.
Yeah,
hasn't he?
Yeah.
yes, isn't he? Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, let's just say, well, so you've got to be sharp in this game, and
You've done well. You've done very well. Yes, so they go out one by one. I think Winston and Cosmo and the others, and then Terry drags out Stretch, doesn't he?
yeah,
And then they're
arm in
dragged out.
arm.
They're
Brothers in
dragged.
arms.
Yeah, they're dragged out onto the road, and they're made to lie face down, and then the cops say, "And you," and then Terry has to lie down, and then Mrs. Mayhew milking it for all it's worth.
This is her best moment, though. This is
Yeah.
her best moment.
But
What is
he
it? What
was
is it?
the one who saved us.
I really hope you do that.
Which
And there's incidental music, isn't there? Which
Yes.
is infrequent in any of the Dennis Waterman episodes of Minder.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a bit. I think when Linda Regan's sitting on a bin.
Yes.
Maybe from
when
the
the,
last-
yeah,
the
like
last
the sun's
quarter of the
coming
show.
up kind of thing. Yeah, there's some music there as well. Yeah.
and it really reminds me of Get Carter. There's just sort of a slight element to it that just sort of it's got that again gritty. You're very 70s. You wouldn't have seen it in an 80s comedy drama, but in sort of this, it really feels like they're trying to go for that gritty perspective and get that atmosphere.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, so I think we next cut to the police station, and we get the first appearance of Chisholm. with
And
a
what an
rather-
appearance it is!
Yeah, what is going on with his hair? What is going on?
I'm having similar problems tonight, to be fair.
I mean, I'm not one to talk about hair, but if I grew all these bits down, I guess. Who's that comedian who looked a bit like that? I think
Miller.
you're Mick Miller. Yeah, there you go. He looks a bit like that, doesn't he? Looks a bit-
Max Wall,
yeah, Max Wall.
Maxwell.
Bodsey.
Yeah.
That's my Max Wall impression. So if Andy's been doing all the impressions this evening,
Sorry.
I'm going to get one
Well,
in.
feel
He does a
free.
reminder, doesn't he?
Yes. Birdman.
Actual?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Birdman one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know. He does.
I'll bring my impression out again for that episode.
Yeah.
wait
Series
for that
3,
one.
I think. Or maybe 2. 3? 3.
No, it's not 2. It's not 2.
Three.
It was 3. Yeah.
3. Yeah. Yeah. So Chisholm, not really very Chisholmy, is he? Other than. But.
No, he calls Terry Terry to start with, rather than McCann.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But he's still horrible to him, and and he's sort of begrudgingly admitting that he's the hero and will be
You might get a
working on
commendation.
behalf of the prosecution rather than the defence.
Yes. Yeah.
Terry doesn't want any of it, does he? Not
No.
invested.
Just wants
No,
to
because
go.
there's very much they wouldn't. Yeah, you get the impression they wouldn't. They were trying to do their best by Stretch and Winston and Cosmo by the end of it, and they wanted to say that the gun went off as an accident, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
they again, so as you said, Pete, brothers in arms by the end of it. A lot of, even though they've had this massive brawl, there's respect earned and due on both sides. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. So
Not too many differences, really. I think that's kind of one of the things that Terry's saying when Stretch is kind of saying, you basically don't know the hardship I've had, and Terry says, well, I'm not exactly a massive success, and I think there is that commonality there. So,
Yeah, it's them against the system.
yeah, I
And
think
the
he.
pol-
Yeah,
and
I
the
mean
police
Terry
are the
clearly
system.
clearly sees that he could have been in that same situation himself if things had been slightly different, doesn't he?
definitely.
Yeah. So the weird. I mean, to start to summarise, Terry and Arthur drive off into the distance, but to start to sort of summarise things. I mean, I was thinking earlier today about this. Is the I've I was saying mine has sort of started to take over my life. And, I mean, I'm obviously exaggerating, but it's for people who just starting to watch. Say, hopefully, a few people are going to watch this Minder for the first time. They're going to join in with us, watch this, and have never seen it before. I think young Rallan's going to join in, isn't he? And Steve, our friend Steve, is going to watch, and he's never seen it before, and he's similar age to us. But it's such a weird episode to start with, isn't it? Really, because it's not that Minder-like in many senses, is it? And when I think you said earlier, Mark, about when you first saw it in maybe '94, that you were a bit surprised what it was like, and I think I was the same. I didn't see it when it was on in '94 because I was out of the country at that time, but I think I can't remember when I saw it. I think it was when did UK Gold start showing them?
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time I ever saw this episode, and it was weird seeing it because it was completely like when you've just come off the back of the Ray Daley years and how the program changed. To see this this episode is it's not very Minder-like. In some ways it's such a weird place to start.
I thought it was a strange choice for them to do as the one to the one that they celebrated the end of Minder with when they showed it in '94, because you think, oh, it'd be great, we'll see a Terry episode again, because we hadn't seen a Terry episode for a few years, so it was like, okay, this would be great. And and things weren't repeated as much in those days. There weren't as many channels
they weren't,
to
were
repeat
they?
them on. No, and
was-
ITV was always different than BBC. Like BBC would always repeat their classic comedy shows, whereas ITV didn't really repeat anything. You've
No,
got
'cause I was
Shelley
thinking about-
and Rising Damp maybe, but
Yeah.
you didn't really get much else. So I think and I remember watching it and being quite, this is a bit weird. But the more I watch it, the more I like it. I really like it now.
Yeah. I'm not.
But I would
suggesting-
never recommend. I would never recommend it as, if you've never seen Minder before, come and watch this one.
Yeah.
It's not what it is.
I know, but that's the problem we've got, isn't it? We're trying to hopefully get some new people to watch it from the start. Like, it's nothing like this. This is completely different to it, but it's not. But it it's a weird place to start, and I think
I think they're trying to get that audience of the. It's come from the. Dennis Watman's come off the Sweeney. It's his new big vehicle. This is the episode that's probably the closest in terms of grittiness.
I think
grittiest episode.
I think that's exactly right. I think it's the most Sweeney-like episode possibly. Steve, Pete, you're more of a Sweeney man than we are. You know a lot more about it. Would you say it was more?
Yeah, like thematically, definitely, and also style as well. Like I say, with that sort of incidental music, sort of tense music, it's not that far removed from like a bit of a stakeout or the build up to a robbery in the Sweeney. So yeah, I think I don't know if that's just in hindsight that's apparent, but I do think it's like a bit of a bridging episode. I think it serves that purpose. It's kind of it's like a gentle helping hand from the Sweeney into the new world for of Houston television.
Yeah,
it's not that far removed. There is a bit of a crossover, not least with the villainy. I mean, it's still a bit more light-hearted, even though there was a lot of humour in the Sweeney. But it is gritty, and someone gets shot, and someone's got a sawn off, and they've been horrible to an old lady and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely up there thematically.
And for the people who don't know, it's probably worth saying that it's all by Houston Films, so it's the same production company did Sweeney and Minder. The same crew effectively did both. So there is a, it's the next thing after the Sweeney. So there is a definite follow up.
And we could have had something that was definitely mooted, and I don't know how much it went into development. Probably not a lot, but something that was mooted was Dennis Waterman continuing the role of George Carter in a further, maybe not the Sweeney, but a new series without John Thor, but actually they didn't pursue that, and they went, thankfully for us, and we wouldn't be here. They went down this route. Am I all right to just quickly chime in with my hot take on the episode?
Yes, please do.
I think, and I'm the same as you, has watched it a lot, probably more than any other episode at this stage. I think it's kind of like an accidental work of brilliance, because as we've discussed, it feels so far removed from the mind that we come to know, but so many seeds are sown in this episode, like that world weariness of Terry that we've described, his approach to that. He's sick of violence, but he's also frustrated that he can't really do anything else, and he's sort of trapped in that world. Arthur exploiting him in every turn. Terry having an eye for the ladies, them being on the fringes of criminality. Like you say, Alfie Cavallo. He's done a bit of Bird, and now he's gone straight, but he's obviously still slightly in that world. And yeah, I think it stands alone. Later on in the lifespan of the Sweeney, we'd have the Christmas specials and things you could almost refer to as like a Minder movie. Sorry, I said the Sweeney. A Minder movie. I think this is almost like the first Minder movie. It's like a mini movie. And I mentioned Dog Day Afternoon earlier on, an obvious reference point, but I think there's something in that. It stands alone as this kind of just crazy little 24 hours in a certain part of London with all these, really interesting characters. So I think we see the brilliance of Leon Griffiths. Now the fact it mutated into something else is great, and that's fine. It's wonderful, in fact. But that mutation into something different possibly wouldn't have happened without such a strong start and such really well thought through characters, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's that character of Terry McCann and Arthur but mostly Terry, that he's speaking from a place of experience there. That's based on a person or people he's known. It's so like authentic. Again, to use a bit of a modern term, but and it's so well developed already just in that first episode. The fact that it went on to be something else even more brilliant. Well, this episode proves that that was no happy accident.
And they're hardly in this episode together, are they? There's only a couple of scenes where they're actually together, but the characters are pretty well formed already even from what they were at the end. There's a slight move, but generally this is the characters that we came to know and love.
Yeah, because even like the little, we mentioned it earlier, the little bit about he did me a favour, and it was like, what was that? I can't remember, but he keeps on telling me he did me a favour. And then there is an element of that I think even at this stage he doesn't really remember why he's with Arthur, and they're linked together, but he's still not quite sure why, and he's never been sure why they have this relationship, I think.
You mentioned Samuel Beckett earlier on. It is a bit Beckett-esque, their relationship.
It is.
Just putting out there. That's my English degree coming into use for the first time ever.
And what were the odds on us mentioning Samuel Beckett in episode 1 of On the Slate? Well,
Exactly, mate.
That's long odds.
Yeah, 100%.
So, right, I think to move things along slightly, one thing we do want to do in this podcast is we want to start a special guest Hall of Fame, don't we?
Yes.
So each week we are going to be discussing whether someone goes into the Hall of Fame and whether they do. I think most weeks we're just going to pick on one person. I think some weeks we might pick on two, but this week I guess we'll pick on Dave King and discuss whether he should be in our special guest Hall of Fame. What do you think, Mark?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I think so. We want to set quite a high bar. Don't we? We want to set a high bar. I think he's really good. As clearly one of Arthur's best friends, I think it's a real shame that he never appears again and is never mentioned again. That I welcome the Cabello family ever get another mention. But obviously he's front row at the wedding, so he should be, he should be more involved. I think Dave King's really good in it. I think he does a really good job, but I'm not sure Alfie Cabello gets in for me. I'd be closer to Stretch going in, but I don't think Stretch quite does enough to get in either. But I think I'd be closer with Stretch getting in.
I think it's hard because it's the first episode, and as you say, you've got to set a high bar because it's Hall of Fame, isn't it? So
yes,
like your Beatles go in the Hall of Fame, but maybe Herman's Hermits don't. So you've got to have a high bar. So, God bless.
That's a very high bar if you're picking the Beatles as the as the benchmark.
Yeah, okay, all right, maybe that was But Pete, what do you think?
No, I agree. I think that it's a shame we didn't see Dave King again because he belongs in this world.
He does.
Arthur and Terry and the Winchester. But that's just how it was. I don't think I don't think he warrants an entry into the Hall of Fame. I think we are. This sounds cheesy, but we're introduced to two extremely, amazingly solid, well-developed characters in the shape of Terry and Arthur, and I think we'll just have to be grateful for that in this particular episode. But I don't think anybody else qualifies, I'm afraid.
No, I would agree. I think we're going to have to set the bar high, and as much as we like it, and I think, and I think we'll move on now to the marks out of 10 with the same.
Well, there's no controversy though, isn't it? Surely in a 3-person podcast, 2 people have to say something and 1 person has to say something opposite to create the tension and the drama. Otherwise, where are the TikTok, Twitter conflict? Where's that going to come from?
Well, if you want to answer...
Floats off.
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
when all the comments come in when this goes out and people are arguing, yeah, I'll leave you to answer all those comments then, Mark. Okay.
Yeah, maybe not. I vote for Linda Regan. Let's get Linda Regan in the Hall of Fame.
Well, that's
Liz.
I mean that's the thing. You could put them all in. That's why this has to be a real. That's why I put the Beatles there, because this has to be a real high bar. I think we can't just chuck everyone in every episode. You have to, I think there's going to be 3 or 4 maybe who's going to make it for the series, I think. So that's, well, I don't know. We'll see.
And I wouldn't be so crass as to suggest a top totty section.
That is for a separate vote on Twitter.
Well, if I was crass enough to do that, Linda Regan would definitely be
A possibility.
in the offing.
She's fantastic in this. Really, really good. She looks great. She acts great. She's just great. Well done, Linda Regan.
Absolutely.
So, marks out of 10. What would you give it? Mark, you go first.
I'd say when I first watched it, I would have given it a 6. Having watched it, I say I'm nearing double figures.
Ooh.
And it gets better every time I watch it. It gets better. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Peter?
I'd probably give it a 7.5, but we're not doing decimal points, so 8.
I think in the context of Minder episodes, I think it's an 8. If it was a standalone thing, I'd be giving it a 9.5. I think in the context of Minder, it's a solid 8.
Okay. I'm going to go. I think like you, I think I initially voted it lower, but the more you watch it, the more I love it, and I'm going to go 8, I think. A solid...
There's no controversy here at all. This is getting ridiculous. We agree on everything. We'll have
what do you want?
For episode 2, we're definitely not going to agree on everything.
Well, I don't like your T-shirt. How about that?
No, that's fine. I've even got a picture of the Beatles behind me for you.
Yeah. So do we have any other business before we need to wrap up, because this has been going on?
No, I think just to echo what you said, Andy, about people getting involved on the socials. Are you able to give us a reminder of where they can do their business, so to speak?
Yes, you can do your business if you...
I'll do the bizzle.
Do the bizzo, yeah. So, on X, we are on the Slate Pod on X. On TikTok, we're a Minder on the Slate, and Minder on the Slate on Facebook. Slightly confusing because it's not all the same. Go on.
A good time as well just to thank minder.org website and guide people to minder.org, because it's an incredible font of knowledge and information, and there's a nice discussion page on there where people highlight things. It's been a huge benefit to us when we're watching it and then doing a little bit of research as well. It's a really great website.
Yes, it is. And we should reiterate that we want people to join in. We really do. We want people to watch, let us know what they think, because we're not experts, as you probably realised after watching or listening to this. We're just fans. And if you're a fan as well, then please join in. Your voice is as important as ours is. So let us know what you think. That's the important thing. We're all fans. If you're a fan, join in, please. Rewatch.
And if you're an expert and we've got something wrong, tell us.
Well,
politely.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. We would have done, won't we? We will have got stuff wrong, but that's all part of the fun, isn't it?
It is.
And I think
we want it to be a celebration. The idea is to be a celebration of Minder and try and bring it a little bit back into the public awareness. Because Only Fools and Horses is still universally loved and known amongst young people. If you ask anyone under 30 about Minder, most people haven't heard of it and not aware of it.
Yeah. I saw some one of the adverts that came up on Facebook the other day was like you know those little bobblehead things, like the Only Fools and Horses ones. I think you don't get Minder toys or any of that sort of stuff, do you? Tat,
Yeah.
Minder tat. Where's the Minder tat?
I'm working on it.
Hey, can you get me as a little one of those little bobblehead things?
Donald Pleasance. Yeah, just get the Donald Pleasance one. It'll be fine.
There you go. You could repackage it. Anyway, well, I think that sums things up, doesn't it? We hope you enjoyed our very first Minded podcast. We've enjoyed it. We've had a good fun. So please join in and rewatch with us. I think we can have a lot of fun together. Thanks for joining us, and we shall see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.